Hello, Internet. So, this is kind of a practice run for reading this story in public later this week. The thing about this short story is I wrote it in high school and I always kind of liked it, but was still unsatisfied with certain parts of it, and I never really knew what I was going to do with it, so I submitted it to my campus literary magazine, figuring, hey, it'll be good enough for that. And I guess it was right because it got in, so woo! Anyway, this is Empty Sky. I sat in the field, burying my face toward the heavens as I watched the stars die. The warm summer breeze swept long hair off my neck. Grass tickled my palms and the soles of my feet. It might have been pleasant if I hadn't been watching the world end. A sea of ratty blankets and lawn chairs stretched out in all directions. Some stargazers were loud, like the group from my school off to the right. They laughed and shouted, oohing and ahhing like it was the 4th of July as they sprawled across each other, nudging and prodding and goofing off. I scrunched lower, hiding behind my hair. Groups like that were rare. Most people were like me, quiet and alone, watching the stars blink out, not talking, not making any sound. We just watched and wondered and waited. An older couple sat to my left on a neat, clean blanket probably purchased just for the night. The woman hugged herself like she was holding something in. The man had an arm around her shoulders and a tight, drawn expression, and an expensive-looking watch on his wrist. My fingers twitched. Their clothes looked faded, washed out, but then again this wasn't some fancy black tie event. They'd probably worn the grubbiest clothes they owned. I plucked at stray threads on my worn, hold-outed jeans, then turned my eyes back to the sky as the woman spoke. "Can't they stop it?" she whispered. My classmates' raucous laughter faded as the group ambled toward the line of parked buses on the road. I think a few of them noticed me on the way out. They suddenly went quiet, making the old woman's words seem volumes louder than before. "Don't they know what's causing it yet?" A long silence followed. I didn't look at the couple again, too busy noticing how my retreating classmates held their bags and purses a little tighter than before, but the man with the watch probably shrugged, shook his head, squeezed her shoulder, something. Finally he spoke. "Don't worry, hun." Don't worry. Right. No big deal. It was only the end of the universe. "It takes thousands of years for the light from some of those stars to reach Earth," he said. "We'll be dead and gone long before whatever it is reaches us." The woman let out a small, relieved sigh, because of course he knew more than all the experts who babbled about science on the news but had no clue how to fix things. Because who cared if her descendants and the rest of the human race saw the end of Earth as long as she was 6 feet under when it happened? Or maybe it was a dissatisfied sigh, because she was smarter than her husband. Because she, like me and my friends online, had already realized that the disappearance of so many stars at once meant that whatever ended those stars was moving much, much faster than the speed of light. Those stars didn't even exist anymore. They were dead. Ghosts, their light lingering on after their demise, like the echoes of a screaming woman after she'd drawn her last breath. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," the song flashed through my mind. "How I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, you leave behind an empty sky." I wanted to move. I wanted to run. Onto the road, back into the city, where the haze of civilization obscured the stars. Fast, like I had when a cashier at that store last week gave me a funny look as I walked out. I'd pounded down the street, a bulge in my pocket and a light, free feeling in my chest. But this field and the city were too far apart. I was no athlete. I measured distance traveled in city blocks, not miles. I'd be leaving on a shuttle bus like most of the other gawkers who'd made the trip into the country to get one last look at the stars. I didn't want to be like them, pathetic sheep who sat and watched because they couldn't stop it. But I was like them. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop anything. Starlight glanced off the man's watch, and my fingers twitched again. I stuffed them into my pockets, forcing myself to look around at the other stargazers. Some had brought telescopes, others cameras. Everyone wanted to capture the moment like the news anchors told them to. Everyone wanted to see the things their grandchildren might not be able to. Stars and polar bears, all the species teetering on the edge of extinction. I didn't see the point. If some huge thing, event, whatever was really out there destroying entire galaxies, who cared if you had footage of the last starry sky posted on your Facebook page? And yet, I was there, watching, just like everyone else. Helpless. It wasn't like in the movies. In real life, there was no mission sending Earth's finest to battle the darkness. There was no unlikely team of heroes braving the final frontier and forging friendships along the way. There was only waiting. "I can't stand it anymore," the woman said with a shudder. "Let's go home." The couple got up and folded their blanket. The woman clutched her purse and they picked their way toward the buses. I pulled on my shoes and brushed myself off before following. I boarded the bus just after them, avoiding the eyes of the driver. He wasn't the one I'd ridden out with, but it never hurt to be careful. A scan of the occupied seats revealed no familiar faces, no one from my school or my neighborhood or group therapy. An empty seat just behind the couple welcomed me. Most of the passengers huddled like roosting birds, making up for lost sleep as we waited for the journey home to begin. They'd have work tomorrow, or school, appointments, business meetings, tennis lessons at the country club. They hadn't really had time to come out to the boonies, but how many chances would they get? How many more years, months, weeks, days would it be before even the ghosts faded, and only the lights of airplanes and satellites remained? How long before those disappeared? The bus coughed as it lumbered forward. People stirred and peeked past their eyelashes. I waited as they settled down, my best bored teenager gaze skimming from seat to seat. But my eyes kept slipping back to the couple sitting in front of me. The man snored, like gleaming on his watch. It flashed, entranced, tempted like almost everything else that caught my eye even once. I had to have it. I was meant to have it. I could almost see my reflection in the glass. No. I stilled my itching fingers. Too conspicuous, too risky, too much if I got caught again. The woman leaned against the man with the watch as she slept, still and quiet and very grandmother-like. If I were the bus driver, I'd guess the two of them had grandchildren, maybe a teenage granddaughter they took with them to stargaze. And if a girl followed them onto the bus and sat by them, he'd probably assume she was related. After all, who else but a granddaughter would reach forward and rummage through the sleeping woman's bag? No one outside the family would dare. I took what I wanted from the purse, gritting my teeth as I slipped the small items into my sweatshirt pocket. Not the watch. At least I'm not taking the watch. I also snagged a stick of gum. Ladies like her always carried gum or mints or something, and popped it halfway into my mouth, letting the driver and the other passengers see the end. A bored granddaughter taking a stick of gum from her grandma's purse. Nothing odd about that. I settled back, a pleasant buzz pooling at the base of my skull. I held in a smile, resting my head against the window as I stared at the farmland we passed. The feeling faded as a few more dots of light disappeared from the sky. The gum's flavor faded too until it tasted like I was chewing on an eraser. The old man's snoring never missed a beat as he put his arm around the woman's shoulders. Again, light glinted off the face of his watch, a pinprick of brightness, just like a star, gone as soon as it appeared. I turned away from the window, the chilled glass cooling the back of my neck. My fingers tightened on the prizes in my pockets as the bus rolled on down the gravel road, and as the stars died behind me. How long? How long? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. A toddler across the aisle sang the tune under her breath, pressing her fingers against the windows as her mother paged through a magazine. How I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high. How long before an empty sky? Thanks for watching.